All right, so we're diving in today, taking a deep look at this new camera from Nikon.
Oh yeah, this is a big one.
It is. It's the Nikon Z56, their full-frame mirrorless camera.
Brand new. Just announced what, like April 3rd, 2025?
Yeah, 2025, so it's hot off the presses.
Fresh, yeah.
To break it all down, we've got two main sources. We're looking at the press release straight from Nikon. They always put out a ton of information.
Of course, yeah, all the official specs and details.
And then we're going to see what the team at Petapixel found when they actually got their hands on this camera.
Yeah, their YouTube review. Always good to get that real world perspective.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, the goal here is to make sense of it all. You know, we're not going to drown you in technical jargon.
Right. It's about understanding what's important, what's actually going to make a difference for your photography.
Right. So whether you're thinking about upgrading or you're just curious about what Nikon is up to.
Yeah, we're going to give you that clear picture of what the Z55 is all about.
Exactly. So our mission basically is to figure out, what are the big advancements? How does this compare to the previous Z5?
And how does it fit into the current camera world?
Yeah.
Right. For both photography and video.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's jump into it. Let's start with something that's like crucial for any camera. Autofocus.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be solid, right?
Has to be. And it seems like they've really upped their game with the Z5 too.
Big time. They've basically taken what they had in their like top of the line models, the Z9 and Z8.
Oh, wow. So the really high-end ones.
Yeah, and brought that autofocus technology down to this more affordable camera.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Specifically, they're both using the same image processing engine, the EXPEED 7.
Okay, so that's a powerful processor.
Very powerful. It handles all those complex calculations for the autofocus.
So it's not just like a little tweak, it's a fundamental change.
Yeah, exactly. And that power allows them to use AI, deep learning for subject detection.
Oh, so it's getting smart.
It's getting really smart. It can recognize like 9 different types of subjects.
Right.
Just like the Z9 and Z8.
Wow. What kind of subjects are we talking about?
So people, obviously, but also animals, birds.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So for someone who's, just getting into photography, what does that mean for them?
It means the camera's going to be way better at like identifying what you're trying to photograph.
Okay, and keeping it in focus.
Right. So you get sharper photos more consistently.
That makes sense. Now, there's this new AFA mode, especially for still photography.
Right, right. That's a cool addition.
What does that do?
Okay, so basically it switches between 2 other autofocus modes automatically,
Ah,
AFS and AFC.
okay, so it's choosing for you.
Yeah, it's smart. AFS is usually for stationary subjects.
Wow.
It locks focus once.
Right, got it.
But AFC is for moving subjects. It continuously adjusts.
Okay, makes sense.
So AFA, it figures out which one you need. So like if you're photographing your dog running around.
Ah, yeah, that's always tricky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The camera will switch between those modes seamlessly, so you don't miss the shot.
That's really clever.
Yeah, super convenient.
And Nikon claims it's a lot faster at focusing now, too, right?
Oh yeah. They're saying about a third of the time it took the original Z5.
Wow. That's a huge improvement.
Yeah, that means you can capture those like really fast-moving subjects much more easily. Sports, wildlife, you name it.
And not just getting the focus, but also keeping it locked on.
Right, and for that, they have 3D tracking.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's a really sophisticated system for tracking a subject, even when it's moving erratically. And you can shoot continuously at up to 14 frames per second.
Yeah, a whole sequence of sharp images.
Exactly. And Petapixel, they actually tested this out in Moab with some mountain bikers.
Oh, cool. Real world test.
Yeah. And they said the face and eye detection worked really well, even with glasses.
Oh, that's impressive.
And they were able to track birds in flight, too.
That's awesome. So low light autofocus, that's always a big challenge, right?
It is, yeah. Especially for, those nighttime shots or indoor events.
Right. So what did Petapixel say about that?
They were really happy with it. They said it could focus down to NECAS 10 EV, which is incredibly dark.
Wow. So it can basically see in the dark.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, the autofocus seems like a massive improvement on the Z5 too.
Sounds like it. Okay, so the camera can see in focus, but what about color? How does it capture those colors and tones?
Okay, so this is where things get interesting. Nikon has introduced this new thing called Nikon Imaging Cloud Connectivity.
Okay, what is that?
Basically, it lets you download these things called imaging recipes.
Imaging recipes. Interesting.
Think of them like pre-designed color palettes or looks created by Nikon or even other photographers.
Oh, cool. So like filters.
Yeah, but more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And they're free to download.
Free. That's always good.
Yeah. and you can access them right on the camera. There's a dedicated picture control button.
So you can quickly switch between different looks.
Exactly. Experiment and see what works for the scene you're shooting.
That's really cool, especially for beginners.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of options. But if you want to get even more creative, they have something called flexible color picture control.
Okay, what's that about?
So with Nikon's NX Studio software, you need version 1.9.0, or later you can actually fine-tune the colors.
Oh, so you have more control.
Tons of control.
Wow.
They have tools like color blender and color grading. You can adjust hue, saturation, brightness, all that stuff.
So it's for the more advanced user who wants to really dial in their own style.
Exactly. And then, here's the cool part. You can export those custom settings back to the camera.
Wow, so you can create your own custom color profile.
Exactly. So you have both options. Quick and easy with the downloadable recipes.
Or deep customization if you want it.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about low light performance.
Yeah, that's always a big deal, especially with full frame cameras.
For sure. And here again, the EXPEED 7 engine and the back illuminated sensor, they really shine.
So it's all about keeping the noise down when you're shooting in low light.
Exactly. They're saying you can shoot up to ISO 64,000 for stills.
Yeah, that's high.
And ISO 512.230 for video.
So you can push it pretty far.
Yeah, and they say even at those high ISOs, you still get good detail and texture.
So you're not getting a super grainy image.
Right. And of course, we've already talked about the amazing low-light autofocus down to the Next EV.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that combination, the sensor, the processor, the autofocus, it all works together.
To give you those sharp, clean images in low light.
Exactly. And then there's the in-body image stabilization, the VR.
Ah, yeah, to combat camera shake.
Right. They claim up to 7.5 stops of stabilization.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. That means you can shoot handheld at much slower shutter speeds.
So you don't need a tripod in every situation.
Right. And they have this cool feature called Focus Point VR.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
So it specifically reduces blur around the area you're focused on. It's good if you're using a lens without its own VR.
Yeah.
And you want that extra sharpness.
I see, so it's like a little extra help.
Exactly. Now, Petapixel had some interesting thoughts about the low light performance too.
Oh yeah, what did they say?
So they pointed out that because this camera uses a non-stacked sensor, it actually has better dynamic range.
Oh, okay, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it can recover more detail from the shadows.
So that's really helpful for night photography.
Exactly. And then they mentioned a couple of specific features for low light.
Like what?
So there's something called Starlight View.
Starlight view.
Yeah, it basically boosts the brightness in the viewfinder and on the LCD screen.
Oh, so you can actually see what you're doing in the dark.
Yeah, it makes it way easier to focus and compose.
That's smart.
And then they have this warm display colors setting. It includes red light modes.
Okay. Why red light?
So it doesn't mess with your night vision if
Okay.
you're out shooting stars or something.
That makes sense. So it seems like they really thought about those low light shooters.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move on to the overall user experience. How does this camera feel to use?
Right. Is it easy to operate, all that stuff?
Yeah, so they've improved the automatic shooting mode. It leverages the EXPEED 7 processor and the AI.
Oh, okay, so it's getting even smarter.
Yeah, it can analyze the scene and automatically optimize all sorts of
Oh,
settings.
it takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly. It's like point and shoot, but with really good results.
Nice. And what about the electronic viewfinder? Any improvements there?
Yeah, big time. It's now 3 times brighter than the one on the Z5.
Wow. That's got to make a difference.
Yeah, so especially if you're shooting outside on a bright day, you can actually see what you're doing.
Makes sense. And what about the physical design, the ergonomics?
Yeah, they've taken cues from their higher-end models.
So it's comfortable to hold.
Yeah, the button placement is good for right-handed use,
Hmm.
and the grip is comfortable even with big lenses.
So it's not going to feel cramped.
Nope. And Petapixel, they agreed. They said it feels really good in the hand.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, so it seems like they've really nailed the design. Okay, now on top of all that, there are a bunch of additional features.
Okay, like give us some examples.
All right, so one that I thought was cool is pre-release capture.
Pre-release capture.
Yeah, so it basically starts recording images a second before you fully press the shutter.
Whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah, so if you anticipate a moment, like a bird taking off, but you're a little late on the shutter.
It will still capture it.
Exactly. It's great for those really fleeting moments.
That's super cool.
Yeah, but it only works for JPEGs, not RAW files.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then they have some portrait-specific features.
Oh, yeah.
Rich tone portrait for really nice skin tones.
Okay.
And skin softening, which is what it says.
So those are good for portrait photographers.
Yeah, for getting that polished look. And then for video, there's this high-res zoom.
Tell me more about that.
So you can digitally zoom in while recording without losing a ton of resolution.
So it's like a lossless zoom.
Pretty much. But it only works under certain conditions, certain frame rates and resolutions.
Okay, so it's not a magic bullet.
Right. And this is a big one. The Z5 thing is the first Nikon Z camera that can record NRAW video internally to an SD card.
Wow, so no external recorder needed.
Nope. NRAW is their raw video format. It gives you maximum flexibility in post-production.
So you can really push the color grading.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you need a fast SD card, like a V90.
To handle all that data.
Yeah. It also supports regular N-Log recording, which is good for post-production, too.
And they even give you free N-Log LUTs.
Yeah, developed with Red D,
Oh.
so you can get those cinematic looks.
That's pretty awesome.
It is. And then there's some more, practical features.
Okay, like what?
So they have a product review mode.
What's that for?
So if you're, a YouTuber or someone reviewing products,
Okay.
it automatically focuses on whatever you hold up to the camera.
So it's always sharp.
Exactly. And there's a video self-timer.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, for when you're filming yourself.
Makes sense. And the screen, it's a very angled touch screen, right?
Yeah, big and high res. You can flip it out and rotate it.
So you can shoot from all sorts of angles.
Yeah, super versatile. Petapixel loved that screen. They said it's a big improvement over the Z5.
And it has touch controls too, right?
Yeah, so you can change settings and focus points just by tapping.
That's nice and intuitive.
And when you shoot vertically, the display rotates automatically.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it's the little things. And it has dual SD card slots.
So you can back up your images or separate file types.
Exactly. Petapixel was really happy about that.
And it uses the same battery as a lot of their other cameras.
Yep, the ENL15C. So let's get into Petapixel's take on the video specifically.
Yeah, they really put it through its paces.
They did. So 4K video, you can record up to 30 frames per second using the full sensor.
Okay, so no cropping.
No cropping. They said the quality's really good. There's a bit of rolling shutter, but that's expected.
And what if you need higher frame rates?
You can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, but it does crop to APS-C.
Okay, so you lose a bit of field of view.
Yeah. And it can do 120 frames per second in 1080p for slow motion.
That's pretty cool.
It is. Although they said the quality at 120 isn't amazing.
But still, a nice option to have.
For sure. And the autofocus in video, they were really impressed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they said it's some of the best they've seen from Nikon.
That's a big statement.
It is. It can track moving subjects really well, even in low light.
So for someone who's thinking about using this camera for video, that's a big plus.
Definitely. And they talked a bit more about the internal RAW recording.
Right, that NRAW format.
Yeah. So they said if you're shooting RAW at full sensor width, it does use line skipping.
Which can affect detail a little bit.
Yeah. But there's also a Super 35 crop option for RAW.
So you can get more detail if you need it.
Exactly. But they said for most people, the 10-bit log recording is probably good enough.
And you only need RAW if you absolutely need that extreme flexibility.
Right. And then they compared it to some other cameras on the market.
Yeah, how did it stack up?
So they mentioned the Panasonic S5.
That's a popular one.
Yeah. They said the Panasonic might have better video tools and stabilization.
Okay.
But the Z5 II, they felt, had better autofocus, especially for moving subjects.
Interesting.
And then they compared it to the Canon R8. They said the Z5 II absolutely destroys the R8 for video.
Wow, strong words.
Yeah, they said the Nikon has better displays and IBIS, which the Canon doesn't have.
Interesting. So where does Petapixel see the Z5 fitting into Nikon's own lineup?
So they think it basically replaces the Z6 II.
Okay.
They said the Z5 III, which is newer, is still better for video. It has a faster burst rate and less rolling shutter because of its partially stacked sensor.
But the Z5 II is more affordable.
Exactly. And they compared it to the Nikon ZF, which is more of a retro-style camera.
Okay.
They have similar features, but different designs. Petapixel thinks the Z5 II is better for action because of the grip and the controls.
Makes sense.
And of course, it sits below the higher resolution models like the Z7DI, Z8, and Z9.
Right, so it's finding its niche.
Yeah, it's a strong contender in that sub-$2,000 full-frame market.
So wrapping it all up, what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think it's safe to say that this is a big step up from the original Z5.
Yeah, a significant upgrade.
The autofocus is amazing, thanks to technology from their higher-end cameras.
And the low-light performance is really impressive, too.
Yeah, the sensor, the processor, the stabilization, it all works together.
Plus, you have all those creative color options.
And really solid video capabilities.
So it seems like they've packed a lot into this camera.
They have. It's a really good balance of features and performance.
And it makes those high-end features more accessible.
Exactly. It's a great option for enthusiasts, but also for more serious photographers and videographers.
Yeah, and both Nikon and Petapixel seem to agree on that.
They do. It's definitely a camera worth considering.
Absolutely. So, thinking about all that, what kind of photography or videography would you be excited to explore with the Nikon Z5 II?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Yeah, what would you shoot with it?
I don't know. So many possibilities.
Right. It seems like a versatile camera.
It does. I guess it depends on your interest, your style.
Exactly. And there are tons of reviews and comparisons out there.
Yeah, do your research, see if it's the right fit for you.
But it's definitely a camera that deserves a closer look.
For sure.
All right. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.
See you then.